The world belongs to my husband! Try and die like men!
The Osu warriors are seen marching toward the battlefield, brimming with enthusiasm, as if heading to a grand celebration. Their leader, Date Mamuni, exudes confidence, assuring them of their impending victory. He descends dramatically from above, landing on the battlefield with a commanding presence. Meanwhile, Sanada Yukimura, a fierce warrior known as the Young Tiger from the T-clan, also arrives, ready for battle. The narrator sets the scene, describing an era of revolution and turmoil across the land. Warlords rapidly swept through the country, each conquest painting Japan's fiefdoms with new leadership. One such warlord, Nagamasa from the Ai clan, declares his duty to vanquish evil in the name of justice, with his wife Ichi standing solemnly behind him in agreement. Other notable figures emerge: the devil of Onigashima from the Mori clan, Ieyasu from Tokugawa, and Mitsuhide Akechi from the Oda clan, the latter infamous for his merciless slaughter of many soldiers. Sasuke, a skilled ninja of the T clan, reports to their leader Teada that the Wugi soldiers are, as suspected, preparing for battle. Ninjas in this world are not merely spies, but possess the ability to fly and wield special powers in combat. Teada, known as the Tiger of Kai, orders his protege Yukimura to lead a squad in a surprise night attack against the Wugi soldiers, led by Lord Kenshin. However, Yukimura objects. In response, Tita strikes Yukimura, emphasizing that the best strategy depends on the specific battle. Yukimura, unfazed, reminds his master that he and Lord Kenshin are sworn rivals. A sneak attack would dishonor their ongoing feud. Tita, with another punch, retorts that this very rivalry is why they must eliminate Kenshin's soldiers, forcing him to retreat. This tactic, known as the woodpecker strategy, is meant to weaken the enemy. Tita muses that if the plan fails, he will accept in the afterlife that it was a poor choice. Undeterred, Yukimura vows to risk his life to carry out the strategy. Sasuke, concerned, asks why Teada hasn't revealed the true purpose of the mission to Yukimura. Meanwhile, Kasuga, a ninja serving Lord Kenshin, reports that the one-eyed dragon of Osu is rapidly closing in on their forces. Kenshin orders his northernmost troops to fight to the last man, holding off the enemy. Kasuga also reports that one of T's squads has taken a different route, planning a surprise attack on Mount Sao. Hearing this, Lord Kenshin orders his soldiers to prepare for battle, with their primary target being the Tiger of Kai. Kajuru, a trusted ally of Date, suggests sending a scout ahead to Mount Saijo, suspecting an ambush. Date dismisses the concern, urging his forces forward. However, when they arrive at Mount Sao, Kenshin's troops are nowhere to be found. Yukimura and his men also arrive, only to find Date's troops instead of Kenshin's. Surprised, Yukimura challenges Date to a duel. Despite the intensity of their battle, Yukimura only manages to scratch Date's helmet. Their clash is fierce, each warrior demonstrating their formidable skills. As they fight, Lord Kenshin and the Tiger of Kai observe the lightning and flames emanating from their duel. The Tiger of Kai reflects that Yukimura's rigorous training might have been in preparation for this very moment, facing the great warrior Date. Lord Kenshin acknowledges that the outcome of this battle is impossible to predict. The duel rages on, with Date eventually drawing his 6 claws to block Yukimura's spear. Realizing the fight could end in mutual destruction, Sasuke intervenes, urging them to cease so Date can continue his mission. Sasuke warns that the Wugi army will soon arrive. Kajuru advises Date to retreat to preserve their forces. As Date withdraws, Yukimura feels a burning determination, impressed by Date's strength and spirit. Date, too, is left pondering Yukimura's resolve. Later, the Tiger of Kai reveals to Yukimura that he had anticipated Date's surprise attack, as well as Lord Kenshin's maneuvers, which is why they remained on the mountaintop for so long. Teada explains that he sent Yukimura to confront Date as a test, though he withheld the mission's full details, believing a true warrior must handle unexpected challenges. Yukimura realizes that the duel was a trial, one he nearly failed if not for Sasuke's intervention. Feeling dejected, Yukimura admits to his master that Date was indeed powerful, strong enough to shake his very soul. Sasuke then reports that warriors have gathered near Imagawa, possibly to interfere with Oda, who is pursuing Date. Teada, anticipating this, orders his troops to head to Imagawa for battle. Kajuru laments that they missed the chance to defeat Lord Kenshin and the Tiger of Kai, having been drawn into the wrong conflict. Date questions whether Kajuru halted their battle out of fear fear of losing, but Kajuru explains that he acted out of caution, knowing that if the fight continued, one or both of them could have perished. Kajuru then notes that Imagawa's forces are likely to withdraw soon due to relentless attacks from other factions. He suspects that Teyata will be the first to try to rescue Imagawa. Intrigued, Date agrees to race ahead of Teyata and capture Imagawa before he can intervene. The Hojo army, also involved in the conflict, becomes uneasy upon learning of Date's approach and quickly retreats. As Teyata's forces march toward Imagawa, they spot Date's army descending from the heights, rushing ahead of them. The Tiger of Kai orders Yukimura and a select group of soldiers to chase after Date and prevent him from taking Imagawa, while he and the remaining troops engage the Hojo forces they encounter along the way. Yukimura realizes that Date is employing the same woodpecker strategy, determined to seize Imagawa at all costs. Lord Kenshin explained to Kasuga that they hadn't engaged Teyata because they were trying to avoid sacrificing soldiers in a three-way battle. Meanwhile, Lord Yoshimoto, a sleepy-headed gourmand who commanded the Imagawa soldiers, was en route to the battlefield when one of his men reported that they were already under attack by Date's army. Yoshimoto, terrified, nearly killed the messenger for not warning him sooner. The Imagawa soldiers were surrounded, and Date, soaring through the sky, dodged every arrow fired at him. Yoshimoto fell from his carriage as Date approached, threatening to take his head. Panicking, Yoshimoto fled and hid behind the carriage. Surprised, Date chastised him, saying that as the leader, Yoshimoto should be fighting. At that moment, Yukimura arrived and ordered Date to stop, refusing to let him kill Yoshimoto. Date vowed that one day he would take the Tiger of Kai's head, but Yukimura confidently responded that his leader would never lose, no matter the opponent. Date then proposed a duel for Yoshimoto's head. The two warriors clashed, their strikes unleashing lightning and fire. After defeating the Hojo forces, Yukimura announced an assault on Odawara Castle. Upon reaching the castle, he was met by Lord Ujiyasu-sama at the entrance. Yukimura mentioned his desire to consider an alliance with the Hojo clan, given the chaos in the country. Ujiyasu-sama questioned why Yukimura would attack if he intended to form an alliance. Yukimura replied that he attacked because he hadn't seen Ujiyasu leading his troops. Angered by this, Ujiyasu-sama vowed that no one would ever conquer their castle. Suddenly, the legendary ninja Fuma Kotaro aimed his sword at Teyata's eye, but Teyata skillfully deflected the strike. Ujiyasu-sama taunted Teyata, promising that he would die before the castle gates. Meanwhile, the fierce battle between Date and Yukimura raged on. Yoshimoto trembled as he watched the duel unfold, realizing his life was at stake. In a desperate move, Yoshimoto ordered his men to bring out his body double. In another part of the battlefield, Teyata and Fuma Kotaro engaged in combat, but Teyata ultimately overpowered the ninja, delivering a blow that sent him crashing into a building. Furious, Ujiyasu-sama confronted Teyata himself, summoning the spirits of his ancestors. Despite this, Teyata emerged victorious. Even as the rain began to fall, Yukimura and Date continued their duel, neither willing to back down. Kasuga alerted them to look behind, revealing that Imagawa had split into three. Date and Kasuga immediately pursued the real Imagawa in his carriage, only to be met by a volley of arrows from above. Yukimura and Sasuke joined the chase, but Sasuke warned that they might be following a decoy. As they closed in, a mysterious woman fired her gun at the carriage, engulfing it in flames. Realizing it was a fake Imagawa, she fired again, destroying the decoy. Finally, Date, Kasuga, Yukimura, and Sasuke arrived at a clearing where they saw Lord Oda Nobunaga, the sixth divine demon lord of Owari, standing atop a mountain with his army. Before them, they raised the body of Yoshimoto, the man they had all been chasing. Without hesitation, Lord Oda shot Yoshimoto dead, ending the pursuit. Maida Ki, a wandering vagabond, arrived in the city only to be chased by Matsu, the wife of the warlord Lord Enio. Ki was well known for his playful demeanor, while Matsu was widely admired for her beauty. Upon their encounter, Ki offered Matsu a cherry blossom he had brought for her, asking her to lay down her weapon. However, Matsu angrily shattered the blossom and attacked Ki with her spear, accusing him of pushing Lord Enio into a cold bath. As usual, Ki had his small monkey, Yumi, perched on his shoulder. Matsu, unimpressed by Ki's antics, advised him to serve the house of Maida and lend his strength to Lord Enio instead of wandering aimlessly. Ki, however, dismissed the idea, stating that such a life would only tie him down. Later, Ki visited Lord Kenshin, and the two indulged in gossip about Lord Enio and Matsu's romantic affairs. Their conversation also touched on the love between Lord Kenshin and Kasuga. Ki mused that if everyone was so deeply in love, there would be no need for war. He then shared unsettling news with Lord Kenshin. The Devil Lord, Oda Nobunaga, had burned down the hometown of his wife, Niu, yet she remained loyally by his side, a fact that Kai found deeply strange. Determined, Ki announced his intention to unite the Eastern warlords against Oda. Though Lord Kenshin warned him of the difficulty, he assured Ki that he was the right person for the task. Ki's journey then took him to Date and Kajuru's stronghold. Kajuru, curious about Ki's intentions, asked him what brought him there and for his name. Ki introduced himself and his monkey to the two warlords. Meanwhile, the Teada army had successfully infiltrated Odawara Castle. Yukimura, a loyal warrior, congratulated his master on the victory and vowed that Oda's lands would soon belong to Teada. Ki then revealed his purpose for visiting Date. He proposed an alliance among all the warlords to fight against Oda, the Devil Lord. Kajuru scoffed at the idea. Undeterred, Kai argued that if the Eastern warlords could unite, they could then challenge the Western warlords and encircle Oda. Date, enraged, aimed his arrow at Kai, but Ki assured him he wasn't there to fight. In a fit of anger, Date sliced through the umbrella Ki had brought. Unfazed, Ki asked what Date intended to do. Provoked, Date challenged Ki to a duel, and they clashed fiercely. Meanwhile, Sasuke encountered Kasuga while she was washing her face in a river. He mentioned that he was tracking someone who had been meeting with various warlords. Kasuga informed him that the person he sought was the vagabond of Maida, but that he was no longer there. Back at the duel, Kai continued to plead with Date to consider his proposal, but Date, still furious, fought with all his might. In the end, Kai was disarmed and gravely injured. Date advised him to take his plans elsewhere. Despite his injuries, Kai did not give up. Date soon prepared his men for battle and led them towards Ari, where Oda was stationed. He vowed to cut off Oda's head and together with Kajuru led the soldiers into battle. To everyone's surprise, Ki accompanied them, ready to face the Devil Lord alongside the warlords he sought to unite. Lord Nagami, a warlord from the Ai clan and the brother-in-law of Oda Nobunaga, was increasingly troubled by Oda's relentless campaigns against other nations. Nagami's wife, who was Oda's sister, had hoped that he might persuade Oda to reconsider his actions and pursue a path of peace. Confronting Ichi, Oda's sister, Nagami expressed his frustration over Oda's misdeeds, even though he had embraced Oda as a brother-in-law in hopes of fostering a prosperous era. Ichi, filled with guilt, apologized, but Nagami gently advised her not to blame herself. When Ichi implored Nagami never to oppose her brother, he firmly replied that despite their familial ties, he could no longer ignore Oda's transgressions. Their conversation was interrupted by Sasuke, who introduced himself and apologized for the intrusion. Sasuke urged Nagami to join the anti-Oda alliance, but Nagami refused, citing his loyalty to his wife and his familial connection to Oda. Sasuke then warned that Oda was planning to attack the Asakura clan, but Nagami dismissed this as impossible due to the strong alliance between their clans. Sasuke's suggestion that Oda was not human enraged Nagami, who drew his sword, accusing Sasuke of insulting his brother-in-law. Sasuke swiftly departed, leaving Nagami troubled. Meanwhile, Yukimura entered his master's chamber and found Kasuga already present. Introducing himself, Yukimura mentioned that Sasuke often spoke of her. Yukimura's master, Lord Takeda, explained that Sasuke was on a mission similar to Kasuga's, to form alliances against Oda. Yukimura realized that his master intended to unite the other nations to confront Oda. Although Yukimura initially believed their clan could defeat Oda on its own, Takeda warned that they would suffer heavy losses and other nations might exploit their weakened state. After a stern lesson on seeing the bigger picture, Yukimura reluctantly conceded, though he doubted the other nations would join them. Takeda revealed that he had received a letter from Ki, who was visiting the leaders of various nations to rally support. This was why Sasuke had been dispatched to secure the loyalty of other generals. Takeda then instructed Kasuga to report to Lord Kenshin that they had agreed to ally with him, planning to use Date Masamune's army as their vanguard. However, they still needed the Tokugawa and Ai clans to block Oda's forces from the rear. Despite Kasuga's efforts, Sasuke returned with the grim news that both the Azai clan and Tokugawa had no intention of joining the alliance. Ichi, deeply saddened by her brother's actions, was advised by Nagami to flee, fearing that Oda might even turn on his own sister. As tensions escalated, Oda's loyal retainer, Aki Mitsuhide, confronted Nagami, questioning where he was heading with his troops. Nagami explained that he had mobilized his forces upon hearing of an imminent attack on their ally, the Asakura clan. Mitsuhide then revealed that he was leading the very evil evil army Nagami had mentioned and suggested that Nagami try to persuade Oda one last time. Nagami was subsequently brought before Oda, where he demanded to know why Oda had broken their alliance and attacked the Asakura clan, which had supported the Ai clan for generations. Torn between his sense of justice and his loyalty to family, Nagami reluctantly drew his sword, acknowledging Oda's actions as evil. Despite Ichi's insistence that she was to blame, Oda decreed that his forces would not invade Asakura, Nagami would. With Ichi held hostage and a gun pointed at her head, Nagami was forced into an agonizing decision. Realizing Oda's resolve, Nagami bowed and reluctantly agreed to carry out Oda's will. As Takeda and Kenshin prepared to launch their combined forces against Oda, the Tokugawa clan, led by Ieyasu, remained steadfast in their alliance with Oda, frustrating all attempts to sway them. Faced with Ieyasu's refusal, Takeda considered attacking him to prevent interference with Date Masamune's forces. Meanwhile, Nagami told Mitsuhide that he would try to convince the Asakura clan to surrender to Oda, hoping to prevent further bloodshed. Mitsuhide speculated that Nagami might remind the Asakura clan of the option to join the anti-Oda alliance, as they had invited him as well. Mitsuhide also mentioned that Date, serving as their vanguard, was planning to strike directly at Oda. Determined to prove his loyalty, Nagami decided to confront Date in battle before attempting to negotiate with the Asakura clan. Mitsuhide reported Nagami's intentions to Oda as Nagami rallied his soldiers to face the one-eyed dragon, Date Masamune, in what would be a pivotal clash. Takada asked Yukimura to accompany him, and one of Leosu's soldiers informed him that Takada was approaching. Takada and Yukimura arrived at Leosu's camp, where they exchanged greetings. Leosu shared his ambitious plan to become a general who would conquer the entire land and usher in a new era. He explained that he had chosen to ally with the opponent least likely to resist. Takada warned Leosu that he stood no chance, as Oda would abandon him once he had fulfilled his purpose. However, Leosu refused, stating that as long as Oda needed him to guard the east, he would remain loyal, even if Oda betrayed him. Leosu then directed his soldiers to prepare for an attack on Lord Kenshin. Both Kenshin's and Takada's forces were mobilized for the assault. Sasuke reported to Takada that Oda had ceased attacking Asakura and appeared to be redirecting his forces toward them. Noting that Takada's troops outnumbered theirs, Leosu summoned Honda Tatsumi, renowned as the strongest warrior of the Warring States period. Tatsumi soared into the sky. Upon landing, Leosu mounted him. Nakanetsugu decided to challenge Tatsumi alone. Na launched an attack, but Tatsumi effortlessly overpowered him, sending him crashing into the forest. Tatsumi then proceeded to defeat all the soldiers who confronted him. Simultaneously, Date's troops encountered Nagamasa and his forces. Nagamasa threatened to defeat Date in the name of righteousness. Ki, believing Nagamasa was sent by Oda, scanned the area for Oda and then dashed toward a particular direction. His soldiers speculated that he might be retreating, but Nagamasa moved in to confront Date and his men. Kajuru advised Date to leave the soldiers to them while he engaged Nagamasa in battle. The clash between Date and Nagamasa was fierce, with both unleashing flames and bursts of light. Date utilized his claws, and Nagamasa vowed not to retreat even at the cost of his life. Lord Kenshin intervened, stopping Kai from advancing further and questioning his intent to approach Oda in the name of the Mida clan. Kenshin criticized Ki's plan as flawed, but Ki insisted that he would not know the outcome without trying. Kenshin, seeing Oda as a formidable foe, drew his sword, declaring he would stop Ki to prevent him from rushing towards certain doom. Ichi begged her brother to spare Nagamasa's life. Oda, accusing Mitsuhide of overstepping his bounds, left the scene. Mitsuhide assured Ichi that there was still time, but the battle between Date and Nagamasa raged on. Ichi rushed to Nagamasa, urging him to flee. Mitsuhide, laughing ominously behind her, ordered his soldiers to open fire on Nagamasa. They continued shooting until Nagamasa fell to the ground. Devastated, Ichi approached Nagamasa and desperately called out his name. Nagami, in a dazed state, told Ichi that she shouldn't be there. It was a battlefield. Mitsuhide approached them, acknowledging Ichi's efforts despite her failure to complete any of Oda's missions. Her task was to weaken Nagamasa's military capabilities and lay the groundwork for Oda's attack on the Asakura clan. Though Ichi's marriage to the Ai clan was part of the plan, her failure to bewitch Nagamas and the revelation of her true motives left her heartbroken. Nagami, facing his end, asked Ichi if she had been deceiving him all along. As she wept and apologized, blaming herself for the situation, Nagami, understanding her predicament, asked her to confirm that he wasn't wrong before he died. After Ichi assured him, he passed away. Ichi's grief was profound, and Mitsuhide mockingly laughed at her sorrow. Kuju approached Date, accusing the Demon King of using Nagami as a shield to eliminate him and the Asakura. This accusation enraged Date, leading Mitsuhide to propose a duel. The two clashed fiercely. Leosu's soldiers reported that Oda had abandoned them, as the rifle squad they had requested had not arrived. Fearing the same fate as the Ai clan, they urged a retreat. Leosu, feeling defeated, reluctantly ordered the withdrawal. Tatatu then descended from the sky into the midst of the Tiada soldiers. Tiada, recognizing Tatatu, decided to fight Yukimura, leaving Yukimura to face Tatatu while he continued with his troops. Lord Kenshin and Ki were still in conflict, with Lord Kenshin insisting that Ki must not align with the Demon King. Ki, however, refused to comply and rode off. Tita approached the retreating Leosu troops, causing panic among them. Yukimura and Tatatu continued their battle, with Yukimura acknowledging Tatatu's strength and technique, understanding why he was considered the strongest in the warring states. Leosu, determined to protect the Tokugawa clan, decided to ally with the Taka clan. Neem, arriving as reinforcements, was disheartened to learn of this decision. She began shooting at them from a distance, wielding a large gun. Yukimura, witnessing her actions, persuaded Tatatu to join forces with them to defeat Oda. As Lo rode in on his horse, he warned Tatatu of an impending attack. Anticipating the strike, he lifted Yukimura and threw him into the air, resulting in Tatatu's defeat and his fall. Suddenly, an explosion erupted, causing chaos. Kiju arrived to inform Date, who was still battling Mitsuhide, that they needed to retreat. Mitsuhide's forces also withdrew, and Ichi, still holding Nagamasa's lifeless body, continued to weep. Yukimura returned to Taeda and reported that Tatatu had saved him from a surprise attack. He questioned why Oda planned to eliminate them alongside the Tokugawa clan. Taka explained that Oda's original intention in forming an alliance was to counter Tatatu's strength and prevent a strong alliance. Leosu, feeling responsible for the failure, lamented his decision to ally with the Demon King. He wept for losing Tatatu, but was reassured by Taeda that he still had other loyal soldiers. Leosu expressed his desire to fight alongside Taeda to defeat the Demon King. Taeda ordered Yukimura to take the wounded soldiers to their base in Kai and provide them with assistance. Ki returned to Lord Kenshin, reflecting on the fallen soldiers and wishing for an end to war. Lord Kenshin suggested they could only confront the Demon King with power and proposed sending Ki west to persuade Mori and Chusak to join their cause. Ki set out, and Yukimura hurried to catch up with Date and his troops, urging them to go to Kai. Kujuru moved closer to Date, pleading with him to accept Taeda's offer due to their heavy losses. Unexpectedly, Date fell off his horse. Kujuru and Yukimura rushed to his side, discovering that Date had been wounded in the battle with Mitsuhide. He was taken to Kai, with Q staying behind. Mitsuhide reported back to Oda, who chastised him for acting without authorization and allowing Date to escape. Oda, furious, warned Mitsuhide of severe consequences for any further disobedience. With a fierce look, Mitsuhide apologized, acknowledging Oda's wrath. If you think you deserve a baddie like Nohime, smash the like button, or are you going to the grave single? And comment waifu snaifu if you want part 7.